All right. So starting with your ball, we're going to roll the feet a little quickly today. We're going to kind of roll through the feet and the lower legs because we spent so much time on that part on Monday. So just rolling the feet. Remember, we're going back and forth. This is your first time doing this rolling. Just explore the foot. All I want you to do is explore the space between the ball of your foot and the heel. All the rolling that we do, we're never going to roll bone. We're never going to roll hard tissue. We only want to roll the soft tissues. We're targeting the myofascia, which is a layer that surrounds muscles. It also surrounds our organs and things like that. But we're targeting the fascia that's around the muscle tissue. So here, starting with the feet, we're rolling that plantar fascia. I'm sure you've heard of that because of plantar fasciitis, which is basically an inflammation of this tissue down here. So we're going back and forth, exploring the space. Think of 3 zones, if you will. Arch of the foot, middle of the foot, outer edge out by the pinky toe. Okay? So we're just going to spend about 30 more seconds rolling this foot. And then we're going to just what I call polka dot or a little pin and stretch. So as you roll here, you notice areas that are a little bit tighter, have a little bit of tension in there. Those are the areas you want to go back and target when we do our pin and stretch. So rule number 1 with this rolling is do it so it's comfortable. It should never take your breath away, right? And you want to control the breath. A lot of this is self-awareness, learning what your body needs and listening to it, giving it to it. So make sure you're including your breath here. Okay, so same foot. Now going back to the spaces that were tight, push down, hold, move the toes. When I say to move the toes, really try to lift them and spread them as wide as you can. Because what we're doing is if the ball's under here and we're pushing on it, and now we're lifting and spreading the toes, we're stretching all that space under there. And that's our goal. So we can kind of rock off, rock on, move the toes, rock off, rock on, move the toes. Really want to feel that bottom of the foot stretch, but also into the ankle space as well. Good. Just do a few more here. And again, stick that ball on that arch space or stick it way out on that outside outer edge. Step onto it. How much pressure you put into it, again, up to you. Rock back off. Good. Okay, so same thing on the other foot. Actually, before we do that, let's do our little self-test, right? Stand one-legged on the side you just rolled versus side you haven't rolled yet. Feel the difference. For me, I can always feel it in my feet. Can feel more alertness in my ankle. But for me, the biggest one that I really noticed is the confidence I have in my knee on the side that I rolled versus the side I have not rolled, right? So just give it a little test there. All right, when you're ready, switch feet, roll, right? Back and forth. I like to go in a vertical pattern. If you want to do a little circle, you want to do cross friction, you're welcome. I always like to start in line with the muscle fibers. Okay, so here in the bottom of the foot, it's a vertical orientation, right? So I'm going from ball of my foot down to the heel, working those 3 zones. Big inhales and exhales, keeping with the breath. All right, and as you get used to it, maybe you dig a little bit more, right? This is called scraping the tissues. So get a little more comfortable with it. Can you scrape a little bit deeper? Get through those sticky, gooey layers underneath there. Try this side. Keep rolling. Just about 20 more seconds. And then we'll do on the same thing on this side. So any areas that you feel are tight, I'm going to go back and target those. All right, so same thing, polka dot this side, stand, wiggle the toes, not just wiggle, but move the toes. Really try to lift and spread. Okay, so I found a tight spot, kind of the back by my heel on the arch side. I'm gonna focus and try to find 3 different spots right there in my arch where I can put the ball, press down, hold, move the toes. Then I'm gonna move to the center. And work my way to that outer edge. And then I'm gonna go back to that arch space just one more time because that's where I felt it most. Maybe look down at your toes, try to get that big toe to move in a different direction than the other 4. We want those toes to move. We spend so much of our time with them all crunched up. We want them to move independent of each other. Good, and shake that out. That's it. Okay, let's go back to our one-legged stance. How are we feeling now? For me, like I said, I feel a lot of difference in my feet. I do, but I also feel it in that knee. I feel like that knee's just more awake, right? I feel more stable in my knees. And again, it's just, we rolled each foot for less than 2 minutes on each side. Okay, so certainly something I recommend you do a little bit of each day. All right, so coming up the chain, we are going to actually spend a little time on the wall. Sorry, we're going to stretch the feet. So we're going to go toes into the floor, heel up to the ceiling. So I want you to imagine that you're taking off in a sprint, right? Boom, at the top, I've got my heel to the ceiling, got my toes pressed to the floor, hands on the wall, tailbone tucked, and we're stretching the bottom of that foot, right? Big inhales and exhales. Inhales and exhales. Now I'm going to flip my foot. So now the tops of my toes are going to go down into the floor. The front of my ankle, when I say front of the ankle, I mean here, top of the foot, front of the ankle, is going to kick forward. So imagine you went to kick something, boom, and your foot got caught. I want you to hold that position right there. Big inhales, exhales. Inhales, exhales. Inhale, exhale. And we can certainly just flip. If you start to feel cramp, just flip and stretch the opposite side. So again, take off, run, and hold. 3 breaths. Good. And toes down, kick forward. Good. Shake that out. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Toes down, heel up, tuck forward. So it's an active stretch. Remember, you're pushing down, lifting up. Think of opposition here. And top of the toes down, front of the ankle forward. And let's do it one more time each side. Really push off of that big toe. And then flip and kick forward. Good. All right. So roll the feet, stretch the feet. We're going to kind of skip over the legs today, go right into the hips, glutes, and work our way up the back since we did so much work on the lower body on Monday. So let's start with the glute max, right? That big glute muscle right in that space, going side to side, maybe a little diagonal pattern. Finding that ball and socket joint and just moving that ball, right? So if you kind of trace all around that joint. Trace all around it. All right, and just alternate between the 2 sides. And I want you to pay attention, just like the feet, usually one side's gonna feel different than the other. So spend extra time where you need it. Okay, horizontal movement, maybe a little vertical, where I'm going from that hip kind of on a diagonal down towards the center of my tailbone. Okay, so just exploring that big glute max, biggest muscle in our body. We want it to work, to fire. If you took my class right before this, we definitely used that glute max. It should have been working in many different ways, many different angles. Good, just about 10 more seconds here on the glute max. Hopefully you spent time on both sides. Good, now we're gonna take it up to the glute med, right? So your bony landmark is the top of your pelvis. So you're gonna put the ball just below that. And then your other bony landmark is your spine, right? So you can feel that bony landmark with your spine, top of your pelvis. I'm gonna put it just below and kind of make that horizontal pattern with that ball just tracking right below the rim, in and out. So we're kind of, again, scraping those tissues, ball against the wall, ball digging in to that glute med space. And it can drop, you can drop the ball down a little bit, get a little bit lower in the glute med. Just find an area that targets what you need. So stay on the back side first, and then we're gonna go to the sides here. So alternate between the two sides. My glute med, again, I'm going from my tailbone out to the outside of my hip space. And that ball is just kind of tracing the rim of my pelvis right below it, in and out. All right, just alternate between the two sides, however you need. All right, if this is especially tight and painful, that's a good little indicator that your glute med, the smaller glute muscle, is actually trying to do a lot of the work that the glute max does, right? So you might want to do a little extra work to get that glute max fired, especially when you're doing workouts, go for a walk, things like that. Okay, so now let's find, same thing, top of the pelvis, right? Now let's take it more on the side, okay? So I'm pretty much sideways into the ball here, got my inside leg bent, and now I'm gonna kind of roll a little front to back, a little vertical up and down, and I'm gonna take that ball and kind of explore all around. So here's my hip socket, right? I'm gonna kind of explore that space. Here's the top of my pelvis, right here. Here's my ball and socket right here. So I'm exploring this space right in there, okay? So you're kind of just letting that ball nuzzle in there. If you find a tight spot, take that inside arm up to the ceiling and then reach away and feel that stretch up the side. Just let that ball kind of nuzzle into those tissues. Big inhale, exhale. Good, and then just doing the same thing on the other side whenever you're ready. Right? There's no certain time to spend, just spend some time on each side and then spend more time on the side that needs it. That's my only rule regarding time here with your rolling. You don't want to do it too long, right? No more than a minute or so in each space, right? Especially with the ball, it's a smaller surface. You might spend a minute, or might spend 2 minutes on the feet, but you're moving that ball in different places in the feet. You might spend a minute or two on the hips, but you're exploring different spots in the hip, not just keeping it on one spot. Good, same thing on this side, reach up and over. Good, all right, so now moving up, we did glute med, glute max. Now imagine kind of an L. So if you feel those big ropey muscles right next to your spine, right? Those are your spinal extensors. We're going to target those, and then out this way, we kind of hit the glute med already, right? But underneath there, above the hip, right? Deep in there is your QL. But what we're going to target is those spinal extensors. So think about where the extensors come down. You can feel the top of your pelvis, and put that ball kind of right there in that 90-degree angle spot, right? And now we're going to lean and kind of turn your body so that ball is just nuzzling right up against those spinal extensors, right? And we're gonna do little down and ups here. Getting the spinal extensors might get a little bit of that QL. If it's too much, you can always back it off. Big inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. We're just working the space. You think of your bottom rib, which is probably lower than you think, and the top of your hip. It's not a lot of space, right? There's just a little space in there. So we're just going this little down and up. Good, and go ahead and change sides. And again, if this was my, right, this was my spine, I'm gonna let that ball just kind of run up and down, not even probably that far, just like this far. And we're just turn the body so that ball just kind of nuzzles up against those extensor muscles. Not going up into the rib cage, staying between the ribs and the hip bone. Big inhales and exhales. Good. All right, so we're going to move our way up. Move away here so you can see shoulder blade, right? So you can probably feel the bottom of your shoulder blade here. It kind of comes down to a point like this. We're going to explore the bottom side of that shoulder blade. So right in this space, my tank top happens to just kind of make that line there because it kind of just wraps around the bottom of my shoulder blade. So I'm going to put the ball in there. And I'm just focusing again on that space underneath, maybe a little bit up from the middle of the back to the outside. And then as I get more comfortable, I'm going to now work up. Here was my shoulder blade, and here was my spine. I'm going to take the ball just in between those two spaces and let it just kind of right up and down, and then across, and right up and down, and then across. Good, and just change sides whenever you're ready. I like to use that bottom of the shoulder blade as your landmark. Start with a horizontal movement. And then if you kind of get used to where that ball is, you can do a little bit of vertical. And again, we want that ball just kind of nuzzle up next to the shoulder blade. If this is my shoulder blade, the ball's just kind of nuzzling up against what we call the long spine of that shoulder blade, the inside edge of it. So the ball should be between the edge of the shoulder blade and your spine. So you're getting a little bit of those thoracic spinal extensors here as well. Good, just a few more here. Good. So from the back of the body, we're going to go down to the front. Right? We're going to target this space right here. So if you grab your shoulder, right, and feel how there's a connection between your chest and your shoulder. We want to put that ball right into that space. So we're not on the shoulder, we're more into the chest. And then what we're going to do is just lean into the wall, letting the arm just hang. And I'm going to do a little horizontal, a little vertical, letting the ball work into these tissues right in this space. This is our pec minor. Right? And then on that same side, you can just turn so that the ball now hits the deltoid right there on the side, right on the side of the shoulder, and just let the ball get squeezed between your shoulder and the wall, and do a little vertical motion here, down and up. You take it to a little bit of the front of the deltoid, and I'll show it here. So I've got front of the chest, right, targeting that pec minor, Looks a little silly, looks like I'm kind of kissing the wall. We want to let that ball just kind of get in those tissues kind of nuzzle it way in and let the muscles let go and relax. And then I'm going to take that ball right onto the side. So that's my deltoid, right? Do a little up down, a little front back, just letting that arm hang. So anywhere from the side of the deltoid to the front of the deltoid into that pec minor space. I've got a knot right here in my left deltoid that I did not know about till right now. Ouch. Okay. So I'm going to press, hold, release. Imagine I've got a trigger point. If it looks like a fist that's tight, 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 I'm just going to imagine that as I press and hold and breathe, I want to imagine that knot just gradually letting go to the point where hopefully those muscle fibers will release and start to relax around the ball. All right, sorry, I got caught up in that, didn't know I had that. All right, so roll the shoulders. Last space I want to hit, trapezius. So again, find the bony landmarks, that back of your collarbone. You're going to put the ball right on top of that. Here, step your feet away from the wall. So I'm kind of leaning my upper body into the wall a little bit here. And now I'm rolling from my shoulder in towards my neck, where that trapezius muscle tissue gets a little thicker and wider, right? And then back out to the shoulder. So just imagine the ball setting on top of that collarbone, and then again, kind of nuzzling into those trapezius tissues, right? Those big muscles that connect your neck to your shoulders. Usually habitually tight because we sit so much and our heads come forward. As soon as our head comes forward of our chest, the trapezius have to kick in a high gear to hold the weight of our head up, right? So we're going to spend about 30 more seconds here on the traps. Make sure you spend time in each. Inhales and exhales. You can add some slow head movement to it here if you want. Go ahead, just about 20 more seconds. Think about those shoulders rolling, right? We want them to roll open. All right, so you can put the ball down. We're going to come down to the mat, and we need your towel, your yoga strap, whatever you have. First, we're going to do stay standing, and we did this in our earlier class, but now that we've rolled, right, the pec minor and the shoulders, we're going to see if we can get the space just a little bit more open. So we're going to grab the towel with thumbs out, palms forward. We're just in a staggered stance here, one foot in front of the other. But what I want you to focus on is pulling that towel apart. So as I pull it, notice how my shoulders roll back, right? So my shoulders roll back, but I'm not just going into an extension. I'm going to think about my shoulders rolling open, right? And my chest lifting. So between the two, shoulders roll open, chest lifted. Now tuck the tailbone, press the hips forward, and take 3 big breaths here. Good. Roll the shoulders. Give them a couple big rolls. You should feel more relaxed and open. All we're going to do is same exercise, switch which foot is in front. Okay? So pull it apart. And as you pull it apart, think about rolling those thumbs back. That rolls those shoulders into that external position. Chest lifts. Notice I don't have a big arch in my back. Instead of thinking about a string on my chest going straight up to the ceiling. Good. Keep inhaling, exhaling here. Good. Now, still using a towel, we're going to take it behind our body. So I'm going to grab the towel here so that my thumbs point towards each other, my palms face away. Okay? So I'm going to pull, same thing, I'm going to pull apart, pull the towel apart, take my hands away from each other. And then what I'm going to do is reach my knuckles for the floor. So I'm going to reach down. Then I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together. And then same thing as before, center the chest on a string, lifts it up. Okay, so reaching the knuckles down, chest up in opposition. Can you pick your towel just off of your hiney just a little bit and lift the towel away, lift the chest up, keep the shoulder blades squeezed. And release, roll the shoulders. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. All we're doing is switching the feet. Put the other foot in the front. Ready? Pull the towel apart. Reach down to the floor. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Lift the chest. Lift the towel. Hold. So you want to think about those shoulder blades being squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You got an orange between there. That orange juice is running right down your tailbone. Lift the chest up. And 3, 2, and 1. Good. Roll those shoulders. Just give them a big roll. So you should feel a nice stretch here throughout the chest. A little looser here, top of the shoulders, into the neck space, and a little bit more activation here across your back. Okay? Bring your towel down to the floor, and we're going to come into child's pose first. We're going to still work on the back a little bit. So child's pose, you can pick whether your knees are wide, feet together, or bring your knees together, whatever works for you. We're going to reach forward here. So I'm going to put my hips back towards my heels, and then just walk my hands forward straight ahead. So we're just going straight ahead first. Drop your head between your arms. Let your ears be on either side or inside your shoulders, and just walk. Kind of inch your fingers forward. Take 3 big breaths. On the inhale, fill up the lungs. On the exhale, pull the belly button in, send the tailbone to the toes. And you can do that 3 times. Good, super active stretch. Now we're going to take it the little lateral reach. So I'm going to take my right arm to the right edge of the mat. My left arm's going to come on top. I'm going to interlace and lock. Same thing, I'm going to reach my right arm forward and my left arm's going to go with. I'm going to send my left hip back. Active stretch here for 3 breaths. Good, and take it to the other side. Left hand on the left edge, right hand on top, and I'm pulling back through this right hip. As I'm reaching my left forward. Good, and we're going to come up to all fours. I'm going to target that glute max here. So from all fours, I'm going to send one leg straight back, but then I'm going to swing it over. So now my leg is on the other side of the other hip. And then I'm just going to slide, I have room here. Okay, so I'm going to come over and slide back, hip to heel. You come down onto your elbows here, whatever feels comfortable. We're stretching the glute max of the leg, of the knee that's tucked up under you. Big inhale, exhale. And one more breath. Good, coming back up. All fours, send that other leg back. So it's going to go straight back. Then I'm going to swing it over. So notice it's outside my hip. Now I'm going to send that hip back, hip to heel. Come down on the forearm so I can relax my upper body a little bit here. focuses on this glute, getting that stretch. Good. And then coming back up, and we're going to flip over. Keep your strap of your towel right next to you. I'm going to finish up here with some hip stretches. First one we're going to do is that reclined pigeon. So I'm just going to cross foot in the front, reach through, grab the back of that thigh, pull it towards me. Right? I'm going to recline pigeon here. I can put a little pressure on the inside of that knee. And I can add a little rock side to side. And that rocking side to side just gives you a little massage through that low back, that glute med space that we already rolled. Good. And go ahead and switch. So other leg in the front, same thing. I'm going to pull that leg towards me. I can put a little pressure on the inside of that knee. Good. So next up, I want you to think, just pulling both knees into the chest. And as you pull in, don't let the tailbone to roll up off the mat. Actually, opposition, I want you to think about pressing that tailbone down as you pull the knees in. And as you're here, just move your feet at the ankle. All right. So next up, happy baby. And you can certainly use your towel here. Right? Reach up, either grab the inside big toe or outside pinky toe, whatever works for you, of one leg and send it up to the ceiling. All right, so my knee's not necessarily straight, but I'm going to go from a happy baby to rotating that foot in and then sending it back out. And rotating that foot in and sending it back out. So we're getting hamstring lengthening as well as a nice rotation there in the ball and socket joint of that hip. All right, so if you can't grab the feet, this is where you use your towel. All right, so I'm here, and then I'm going to pull my foot in, and then I'm going to extend it out and up. All right, so same thing can be done with your towel. Just make sure the back of the hip stays pressed into the mat here. It really doesn't matter if you're using your hand or the towel, as long as you have vision of what muscles should be working, how your body should be moving, what you should be feeling. Good. And just switch to the other side. So again, you can grab big toe, you can grab pinky toe. We're going to go out and up, and then rotate in, and out and up, and rotate in with the foot, or with the hand, sorry, or with the towel. Rotate in, send it out and up. Feel that hip joint moving in the socket, as well as getting a nice activation of the quad and stretching of the hamstring. Good. All right. So bring your knees into your chest, rocking up. And I'm going to give you options today. We did legs up the wall the other day. Another option I'm going to give you, this is where we finish with our breath. So legs up the wall, 90-degree bend, or legs straight up the wall, or just in a child's pose. You want to use your blanket here or your towel to put your forehead on. I encourage you to bring your knees together here if you can. You can put a little pillow between your hips and your heels if you need that. And then bringing your hands alongside. And here you're just going to let those shoulders relax and roll forward. What we're focusing on in this space is that breath, right? We always start the breath in the belly. We let the belly expand. Continue the breath into that mid-diaphragm space between the belly and the ribs. Continue the breath into the lungs, and then reverse it, lungs, diaphragm, belly. So when you have your legs together and your belly's right there on top of your thighs, your belly can only expand so much, so that takes that expansion into that low back space. Good, and I encourage you to in wherever position you finish, if you're in that child's pose space and really feeling that belly breath, your belly again can only expand so far before it runs into your thighs. So take that breath into the sides of the low back, into the low back space, into the sides of the ribs, into the upper ribs. Really allow that back to fully inflate, and then reverse everything back out. Big inhales and exhales. I encourage you to continue your breathing here in this space. 5 or 6 deep, calming breaths where you're focusing only on yourself and your body can do wonders for you. So I encourage it every day. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.